Okay, picture this. A former prime minister, a massive student uprising, and a sentence that has shaken an entire nation to its core, the death penalty. Today, we're breaking down the absolutely stunning verdict against Bangladesh's former leader, Sheikh Hasina. I mean, how does a 15-year rule end like this with a death sentence? Let's get right into it.
I mean, this is the headline that has put Bangladesh right at the center of global attention. A special tribunal found Sheikh Hasina guilty of crimes against humanity and handed down the ultimate penalty. Look, this isn't just a verdict, right? It's a fundamental, seismic shift in the country's power dynamics. And honestly, the repercussions are probably just beginning to unfold.
And to really wrap your head around just how big this is, you have to understand who Sheikh Hasina was. I mean, for 15 consecutive years, 15 years, she was running the country. Her rule was long, but her fall from power, incredibly swift.
All right, so let's start with the verdict itself. What exactly did the court decide? And, maybe more importantly, on what grounds? So let's just break down the core facts here. The person sentenced? Sheikh Hasina, the former prime minister. The sentence? Death. The charge? Crimes against humanity. Now, this is a really critical point. It was a trial in absentia. That means she wasn't even there. She's in exile in India. And she wasn't alone. Her former home minister got the exact same sentence.
So, the big question is, how did we even get to this point? A verdict like this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. No, it's the direct result of a massive student-led uprising that completely, and I mean completely, reshaped the country's entire political landscape.
And you have to see how fast this all happened. It started in July of 2024, pretty simply, as a protest over government job quotas, but it just caught fire. By the end of that same month, this was not about job quotas anymore. It had morphed into a nationwide movement demanding one thing and one thing only: Sheikh Hasina's resignation. Now, the government responded with a brutal crackdown, but it was just too late. The momentum was unstoppable. And by August, she had fled the country. Her 15-year rule was over, just like that.
And behind those charges of crimes against humanity is a devastating human cost. A UN report estimates that about 1,400 people were killed during that crackdown. Let that sink in, 1,400 people. That number is absolutely central to the entire case against her.
Okay, so what was the specific evidence? What exactly led the tribunal to this kind of decision? Let's break down the court's key findings.
Well, the tribunal essentially built its case on four main pillars. First up, direct command. The court actually called her the mastermind, and they pointed to evidence like audio recordings that they say show her ordering the use of lethal force. Second was incitement, arguing that her language was deliberately inflammatory. Third was inaction. This is interesting. She was found guilty not just for what she did, but for what she didn't do, which was failing to stop the killings. And finally, co-conspiracy, that she acted together with her top security officials.
Let's just pause on that incitement charge for a second, because this one word, razakars, is just incredibly explosive in Bangladesh. You have to understand, it's not just some political insult. It's the term for local collaborators who worked with the Pakistani army during the country's bloody 1971 War of Independence. It's a word that means betrayal, atrocity, the worst of the worst. So when Sheikh Hasina used that word to describe student protesters, the court saw it as a direct and very dangerous signal. It was essentially like branding them enemies of the state and, in the court's view, justifying violence against them.
So as you can probably imagine, a verdict this massive has just split the nation right down the middle. People are asking, is this a landmark moment for justice, or is it just a calculated act of political revenge? And really, you have two completely opposing narratives here. On one side, you have the current interim government. They're calling it a historic verdict, a step toward getting accountability for the victims. But on the other side, you have Sheikh Hasina, speaking from exile. She calls it a politically motivated charade run by a rigged court, and she insists she was never given a fair chance to defend herself. So you see, these aren't just different opinions. For people in Bangladesh, these are two totally different realities.
Okay, so the verdict is in, the sentence has been handed down. The biggest question on everyone's mind is, what now? What happens next? Because the path forward is just full of legal complexities and political minefields. So, legally speaking, there is a process. Sheikh Hasina has a 30-day window to appeal the verdict to the Supreme Court. Simple enough, right? Well, not exactly. Here's the huge legal question that's hanging over everything. Can you even file an appeal if you're in exile, if you're not physically there to face the court? Nobody seems to agree, and that's a major, major sticking point. And those legal questions, they're really just the beginning. You've got this huge diplomatic hurdle, extradition. Will India, where she's living, actually agree to send her back? It's tricky because their treaty has this crucial loophole. They can refuse if the crime is considered political. Then, you've got politics at home. The clock is ticking toward elections in 2026, and her party is already banned from even participating. And all of this is happening while security forces are on high alert, just trying to keep the country from sliding back into total chaos.
So, in the end, we're left with this fundamental question. For the families of those 1,400 victims, is this verdict the first real step toward accountability? For Sheikh Hasina's millions of supporters, is it nothing more than a political witch hunt designed to erase her from the future of the country? One thing is for sure, this verdict wasn't the end of a chapter. It's the beginning of a new and deeply uncertain one. And the whole world is watching to see what happens next. Will this historic sentence actually bring justice, or will it plunge a nation of 170 million people into an even deeper crisis?